Welcome to Healing Generations, a podcast creating a dialogue uplifting the importance of healing, strengthening, and supporting our communities, and that addresses the disparities and inequities in communities of color. Healing Generations is brought to you by the Healing Generations Institute, a collaborative initiative of the National Compadres Network and the Brotherhood of Elders. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on our new releases.
Buenas, my name is Francisco Gallardo here with the Healing Generations podcast. I want to welcome everybody back to a new year, 2022. I can't believe it, man. We're just rolling it along. I just want to, I hope everyone had a good, safe new year. And it's kind of a tricky moment that we're in. The pandemic is holding on. There's a lot of emotional things going on. I just want to take time as we always get started. We want to take time and just take a breath, take a breath and, really breathe in and think about our ancestors, think about those four directions as our elders and spiritual people have told us. We want to face the East and bring all the men in our lives. We want to bring them into this podcast. We want to remember things that they said. We want to think about our grandfathers, our dads, our sons, our brothers. We want to think about the kids in the community, the young men that we work with. We want to think about them, things that they need, the traumas that they've been through, the resilience that they show. We want to think about them in that way. And we want to have them in our thoughts when we're talking, when we're thinking, because a lot of times we make decisions and stuff without really thinking about all the ramifications of those decisions. So we want to turn to the West, to the women, to the direction of the women, the direction of our grandmothers. But before we pray and think about that, we want to honor the spectrum in between. We want to honor all our relatives that don't quite fit in either the men or women. We want to recognize them and think about them and thank them. As we think about our grandmothers, our mothers, our daughters, our sisters, our partners, all the young women in our lives, we want to think about them and bring them and honor them. All the energy and the different ways that they interact with us, we want to think about them and really take that time to honor them. And then we turn around to the north and we think about our elders, our ancestors, those that came before us, those that struggled without really knowing and praying for us even before they even met us. We want to think about them, Our elders in certain parts of the country, it's cold. And, some of them have to make tough choices during these times of year. I want to think about them too, think about that they have all the food and the warmth and all the things that they need and the loneliness that they might feel, that somehow, some way they can feel that, they can feel that love and cariño from us. And then we face the South, the future generations, the children in our lives, those even yet to come. We want to think about them and honor them, and make decisions based on them, on what our responsibility right now can be. One of my elders always told me, we're living in our children's past. When they look back at us, are we going to be proud? We want to think about them in that way. And then we want to honor the sun, Don Antiu, for warming us, for providing that lesson that warms us up. But the sun comes every day, and it's like that hope. Even if it's cloudy, we know it's there, and we want to just have to hold on a little bit, and it's going to come in our lives. And then, of course, Mother Earth, Don Ansin, we want to honor her, the things that she gives us, the food, all those different elements. We want to remember that, and do our best to take care of her the best we can. Of course, the center, we want to think about the Creator. Whatever you believe, we want you to be good and feel good. And remember, there's always, this too shall pass. Things will get better. And we ask the Creator, thank you for life. Thank you for for giving us this and giving us a way to understand you, this great mystery we call the Creator. So with that, I want to thank each and every one of you, for taking that little time out to honor the four directions and really kind of center this new year. And I'm really excited because we have to me, a special guest. His name is Macedonio from San Diego. I'll let him introduce himself formally, but I'm really happy to get him on our podcast because I've seen him many times perform. I've seen him at retiros and things like that, and he always his humor always cracks me up. And for some people, it throws them for a loop. They're like, is he talking smack or is he just having fun? I don't know. But I think that's part of it, right? That you always have that person in your family, in your group that kind of does that, right? Kind of challenges the boundaries, which is good, right? So I want to say good afternoon to you, Macedonio. And I just want to ask you, as you introduce yourself, can you please share a little bit about yourself, your family, your background, and your journey to this point in life?
Yeah, thank you, Cisco, and thank you for that kind reminder that I love to push the boundaries. Yeah, I like that comment. If there is a way to describe me, you just did it. So I come from a small town in Michoacan, Mexico, Nueva Italia. Actually my great grandma was named Macedonia. My grandfather was Macedonian. My dad's Macedonian. I'm Macedonian. So I am wondering still how far that name goes back. If my great grandma was Macedonia as well, or my great grandpa. So the name's been in the family for a really long time. I've never met another Macedonio, so it's kind of a unique name, I guess. My mom, my father's Macedonian. My mom was Maria Angiano. She's in the spirit world now, and she's also from that same pueblo, Nueva Italia, Michoacan. And I actually have, I honestly don't even know how many brothers and sisters I have. I have a lot, probably close. See, I already started with the humor, dude. Approximately, let me see, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, about 13 or 14 brothers and sisters. I've lost track.
Wow.
Yeah, but my dad and my mom had 7. 2 passed away when I was a little boy. And then my dad remarried and had another 5 or 6. So I have one daughter, Yari Aslan, who lives at home because of the pandemic, and Alicia Chavez Arteaga, who I am. There's a way you're supposed to say it when you're a feminist. I am her husband or something like that. She's going to get mad when she hears that comment. She's totally going to get mad. She's like, why do you have to say that? Why do you have to bring... Anyway, it's too late. I'm done. I'm going to get in trouble for saying that. But anyway, yeah, I have a lot of nephews, nieces. I have a great niece. I'm sorry, great niece. Well, yeah, she's my great niece, and Metzli, and I bring her up because she's really just kind of one of those little kids that you just want to be around all the time. And I have some other little awesome nephews. But yeah, my dad's still around. Macedonia's still around, kicking it somehow, some way, but he's there. And yeah, all my brothers and sisters on my mom's side are still hanging out. One of them lives actually in Riverside, Cisco, Fernando. He lives up in Riverside. I got to get him in contact with you.
He's the one that works in Orange County, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife knows him.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as the pandemic's over, dude, you guys got to meet up because he really wants to go to ceremony up there.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, I guess that's like my little journey. I came to this country when I was 5 years old. I was one of the first, what you would call dreamers, right? We were the first dreamers that I knew of. And we kind of got a little lucky because Ronald Reagan signed a bill, a Simpson-Massoli bill, and allowed us to stay in this country. And I always it's kind of a weird thing, right? Like, as indigenous people to think like, oh, I'm allowed to stay on this land now. The whole concept is really weird, but never thought I would be thanking Ronald Reagan, but because of Ronald Reagan, we're here, and I don't have to worry about what a lot of my brothers and sisters have to worry about, in this country, which is being deported or having to face all that discrimination of living in the shadows, right? But I know what that's like. I lived it many, many, many years in fear.
Yeah. So, what lessons have you learned from your culture, your family, your experience along the way that helped you in your own healing and development? What could include music, art, advocacy. What makes Macedonio tick? I should say something like that. What were those things that kind of brought you to where you are?
Well, I think I'm sure, like a lot of people that are listening to this podcast, you grow up colonized, right? You don't even know who you are. You want to be white. You want to be something different. I think for the longest time, I wanted to be white, because of racism around being brown and dark, and it was pretty harsh, And then I accidentally went to college. I say accidentally, and I kind of mean that. It sounds a little funny, but it's like I'm walking. Oh, I fell into college, right? It was kind of almost like that accident where I was a kid who never read a book in high school. Never read a book in high school. Don't know what the classics are. I don't. I kind of know them because I work with students now. Never finished a math class in high school. Actually, the only math I ever finished was statistics in college because I had to take it. I'm still not a reader. I don't read, period. Actually, Luis Ruan, who was on your cast, he gave me his book, and I looked at it and said, look, bro, don't take this the wrong way, but I'm not going to read it. And it has nothing to do with you. I don't read. I just, I wasn't socialized to read. I didn't learn how to do it. Now it's such a difficult task for me to read books. So I accidentally went to college. Now, this is almost an accident, dude, where, there's no accidents in life, right? But it's just the word we're going to use. There was no classes to take. The only classes that were left was a Chicano studies course. It was a speech class through a Chicano studies perspective, and a history class, Chicano studies. And I had to enroll because I got financial aid, so I had to have a certain amount of units, right? And I just enrolled in those classes. And bro, I didn't even know what a Chicano was. I never heard that word. I was like, what the hell's a Chicano? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, whatever, dude, I'll take the class. And well, I kind of started getting into it, dude. And I was like, wow, this is really interesting. And I remember coming home and I told my mom, oh, yo soy Chicano. And she slapped me. She's like, estás menso. No eres Chicano, tú. She didn't really slap me. It just sounds more exciting, right? She almost slapped me. She's like, tú no eres Chicano. She started yelling at me. And I said, yes, mom. And I tried to explain to her why we were Chicanos, right? And she's like, no. And so anyway, I had a pretty awesome awakening of realizing what I wasn't taught, right? What I wasn't taught and what I was taught. So how colonized my mind was, right? And how deep the internalized self-hatred I had towards my brown skin, towards me. It was so deep that when I started slowly coming out of it, I wanted more and more and more. And I know there's people listening right now like, yeah, I went through that. Yeah, I went through that, and then you become super Chicano, right? You're in danza, teatro, escuela, just Sundance. You're like, dun, da, 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 it's super Chicano. Damn, I forgot what the question was. What's the question?
So how did those life experiences that you faced, growing up or whatever, how you learned to be, how you got to realizing you got Chicano activated, as they say, when you got activated, like, how did that bring out your healing? I'm sure at some point you probably didn't even, I don't know if you were aware you were traumatized through that experience that you had growing up, or what was it that you started to see this into the community and realize that you have something to offer to them as a part of a mirror, of a reflection of who they are. I think what I saw from myself was I saw my experience in other people, because for a long time time, I just thought it was me, my mom being from Mexico, me going back as a kid, not really understanding. No, we go through that. And I mean, it's different for you because you were born in Mexico, but you grew up most of your life here. I mean, what was that like? And how did it influence you to be Macedonio, who you are today?
Well, when I started writing, it's all connected to your questions. I started writing, and when I got out of college, I would just write little poems. I thought they were like whatever. I just wrote. I didn't know nothing about poetry, and I just started writing. And every now and then I'd go to a reading, and people say, "Oh, your stuff is good." I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude. I'm just writing some crap down, and then I started realizing that because I was learning so much that our voices weren't being heard as Mexicanos or Mexican Americans or Chicanos or Indigenas. Our voice wasn't being heard, right? And people were listening to me. It's like, why are they listening to me, right? But they were. And I realized that I had a voice, not just like this really sexy voice you hear right now, but it's deeper than that, right? I had a voice, like for some reason people gravitated to me and vice versa. And I had to use that voice for something productive, for something healing. And I actually started my artistic career as a poet. I was known as a poet for such a long time. I read with the Taco Shop Poets. I was with all those guys before they even became the Taco Shop Poets. You know, and I started realizing I had a voice, dude. And it was really a trip because I never even really knew what poetry was. I just wrote stuff down, and I entered in a contest at Mesa College because the professor said, "Oh, Masa, you write good, and you should enter in this contest." I was like, "Dude, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, this is a kid who never read. I didn't read, so how was I even writing good if I didn't read, right?" And I entered, dude. I won second place in the whole college, second place poetry contest, and they published it, and they had this big bevel where the chancellor comes and you read your thing. I was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. And then I went to UCSD. I transferred to UCSD. Same thing, dude. Somebody encouraged me to enter this contest. I was like, this is UCSD. You're talking about UCSD is one of the best colleges in the country, dude. And how is this little brown dude going to compete with like these intellectual writers and monsters that are showing up to this campus, right? And I was like, whatever, and I'll just turn something in. Dude, overnight, Cisco, and this has happened to me my whole life. So when we talk about healing, you start understanding that the ancestors are literally working through you. And it's not you, it's not me. Macedonio is really nobody, dude. I'm very insignificant. But my ancestors that move through me are a whole different thing. It's your ancestors that are working through you, and it's not you, it's not me. I'm really insignificant, dude. I just kind of happen to be the dude that channels them because it's not me, right? So, dude, check this out, Cisco. They said, "Oh, you enter this contest at UCSD." I'm like, "Oh, whatever, I'll enter it, right?" But it's like, yeah, I entered at Mesa, but that's a junior college, whatever. So I went to sleep that night. The entry was the next day, right? And I typed something up. I went to sleep. I woke up in the morning. I see this poem I printed out, and I was like, "What the hell? Who wrote this?" Right? And it was about Christopher Columbus, bro. The first line, the poem was called "I Must, for some odd reason, believe in freedom." In 1492, you sailed the ocean, BLEW, and profoundly lost like a greedy, confused child, you landed mistakenly in Americas. It goes on and on and on and on, right? Bro, I don't even know how to write like that. Where the hell did that crap come out from? Right? So I was like, oh, I'll turn this in. Dude, I freaking won first place in the whole college, Cisco.
Wow.
So, dude, so here I am, a little brown kid, can also have a nada, doesn't know shit, bro. Just wrote some shit on a piece of paper, right? I wasn't aware yet. I was too young to understand that it wasn't me, that it was the ancestors through me, right? I was way too young to understand that. Ego was still involved, all that shit, right? That we have to work on as we get older. And I'm so scared, Cisco, to go read this in front of all these people because the poem gets pretty crunchy, dude. It gets hardcore, like political and this and that, but it's like, I must, for some odd reason, believe in freedom. And that starts breaking down what happened to that wounded knee and this and that and the movement. And it just breaks it down, but in a poem, right? So I show up to this place where I'm gonna read the first place winner, dude. This little brown guy, and I show up, Cisco. I kid you not. Everybody there is white. Everybody there is white. And I was like, holy shit, they're gonna jump me, dude. Because I still don't know. I don't know all this stuff, right? I've never read a freaking hardcore political poem like this. And why did it even win in the first place? Right? It had no business winning. That's what I thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything went well, and but Cisco, it's a trip that you asked me that because my whole life from there on has been exactly like that. Like I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I'll just write something and turn it in, right? And in a way, I'm glad that I could still have that attitude that, oh, okay, no soy bien chingón. I'm the bomb. I'm this. I'm that. I'm glad I still have that attitude because I still don't think I'm any good at anything. But my ancestors are really good at challenging themselves through me, right? When I was in college, this is another good example of the healing part, right? I wrote a play called Nopal Boy. So Nopal Boy, again, I wrote it overnight, bro. It was due the very next day. Stayed up all night, just fell asleep, woke up. I was like, damn, who wrote this play? Man, this is pretty funny, right? So I turned it into the professor, Jorge Huerta, who is like the renowned scholar of Chicano theater in the world, dude. The guy's one of the biggest names, not just for Chicanos, for any ethnicity. He's huge. He was my professor. Same thing, bro. Turned it in. He actually turned it into another place because it ended up winning a contest at UCSD. It was a play, and this is the funny part, bro. It was a play about a young man. His name was Marcos, who one day wakes up and there's a nopal growing on his forehead, right? A cactus. For all of you non-English speakers, a nopal is related to the cactus family. But anyway, so he has a nopal growing out of his forehead, but it grows, bro, only when he denies his culture. Like Vicente Fernandez, right? He's playing in the background. Lástima que se... And he's like, turn that Mexican music off. And then he's like, right? So his mom's like, oh, mi hijo te hizo unos frijoles con tortillas. He's like, frijoles? Why are we going to eat frijoles? I'm tired of frijoles. And then, right? So the cactus just gets bigger and bigger. And obviously there's a lot more to the story. Boy, it actually won California English Teachers Association Book of the Year. Not too long ago. Montoya was still around. When I got that award, I went up to Sacramento, and he came over there. He walked from there. It was that close to his house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, bro. So I think if you start seeing all the connections in life, all the beauty, and you can put your ego aside, Cisco, you can put your ego aside, then the ancestors will work through you, right? And they'll say, hey, Masa, you're listening, so we're going to give you more. We're going to give you more. We're going to give you more. But we're giving it to you to share. We're not giving it for you to keep. We're giving it for you to share. That we know that you have the voice and the power to share, right? So they're always looking out for me. They give me opportunities. They keep me humble. A lot of other people keep me humble. And I think for me, that's what I need to do. But I still don't know if I answered your question, dude. But
so how did you get from writing plays to directing plays and creating Teatro Escali? How did you get to that point?
That's a very good question. So I saw Culture Clash, and Culture Clash, for those of you that don't know, is the most successful comedy troupe in the history of the United States, period. Not for Chicanos, for every audience, right? They're huge, huge. And Jose Montoya, his son, is part of it. Well, I saw them while I was at UCSD, bro. And I went and I watched them, and I was mesmerized. I'd never seen Chicano comedy. I never saw our stories on stage. You know, the bilingual, the code switching, and maybe a little bit of Nahuatl in there, this and that. our themes, political satire. I don't think I ever like blinked. I was I was hypnotized, bro. I was like, oh my God, I want to do that one day. I want to do that one day. So I got some friends together and we started a troupe. You know, Alicia, my partner, she was in the group. My daughter's been started performing since she could walk. She knew lines when she was 2 years old, right? She still performs. I was one of the main writers. Alicia and I actually went out to dinner one night and we wrote like 4 sketches on napkins, dude. We're like, hey, look, this. And then I wish we still had those napkins, dude. It would be like really like powerful historical stuff, but we lost those napkins. We wrote 4 sketches and we still do those skits. We still do those 4 skits that we wrote 20 something years ago, dude, on a napkin. And then I started acting. Obviously, I actually did some theater in high school. That was the only class that I would show up to. I didn't tell you that much that earlier. The only class I would go to was my theater class. And my theater teacher, bro, Mr. Hollenbeck, knew I was ditching math, knew I was ditching English, and he didn't care, bro. He kept me in his class because he knew. He later told me, look, Mase, I didn't have any Hispanic boys like you. He said Hispanic, but anyway, I didn't have Hispanic boys like you. And I knew if I didn't keep you in my class, you were going to end up like the rest of your friends, which was in prison or dead or in the barrio, right? And he was right, dude. He was right. So I started writing, performing. Dude, I could tell you, I played so many, like you've seen me in one show, I come out like 7 different characters, right? From a Pachuco to Chunky Sanchez to freaking Abuelita to Forrest Gump. You guys remember Forrest Gump? We had a Chicano version of it, Bosque Gump. We had Bosque Gump, and Forrest Gump would say, "Life is like a box of chocolates," you know. But so the Chicano Gump, Forrest Gump would say, "Life is like a bag of Saladitos. You never know how sour they're gonna be until you suck on one." So we would take mainstream characters again, Cisco, because we were not visible on TV, we're not visible on stage, and we still are to a large extent. We would just take mainstream ideas and make them Chicano, right? Make them indigenous. We put our own twist, and freaking people loved it, bro. You know, and that's all we did. That's all we did, and you know, obviously every sketch we performed, every skit we've ever performed has been written by us. You know, we wanted to write our own stuff, and of course we honored Culture Clash and Luis Valdez and the women that wrote before us as well. But we were like, you know what? They would want us to write our own stuff because our own stuff is reaching a different audience, a new audience, and it's healing. It's reciprocal. It's reciprocal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going out on stage, bro, in front of 2,000 people and having them laugh, and you feel the medicine, right? It's almost like you're in a peyote ceremony. It's actually no different. I can almost guarantee you the same thing that lights up in your brain, humor is the same thing that lights up in your brain when you're on medicine, our traditional medicine or in the sweat lodge. It's the same parts of the brain that are lighting up, right? You get that medicine. You could taste it. You could feel it. You're laughing with the audience, you know, and it's magical, dude. It's healing. It's healing for us as members as well, the actors.
That's beautiful. How did you tie in also to your own spiritual journey? I mean, because there's this outside part of Macedonio, but there's also the inside. How do you take care of yourself and also doing both of those, you know?
I have to be honest that I was involved in way too many things at a young age because I was doing teatro. I was, you know, running circles with young men, you know, running the sweat lodges, and then my full-time job. Like, now that I reflect, no human should have been doing all that stuff at one time. No human should be doing all that at one time. But I did it. You know, we do it because there's a need and we want to be helpful. And that's kind of unhealthy, dude. It's super unhealthy. And, you know, that now that I reflect, I mean, I don't regret it. I don't regret any of it. But now if I could go back and do it over again, I would do things differently. I didn't make enough time for myself when I was younger. And I'll tell you that I still feel repercussions of it. I know I have an autoimmune disease because of that. I know that some of the health things that I have are connected to me not taking time out for myself, right, and reflecting. And I think the last maybe the last 9 years, there's been such a no, actually, sheesh, it's been longer because I got really sick. I almost died from this autoimmune disease. It's been about 15 years where I started changing my life. Like, just had to start changing and reflecting, making time for myself, just focusing on making myself happy, right? And not relying on an outside source, not relying on another human being, not relying on teatro to make me happy. Even though that's medicine, I can use it, but it shouldn't be the ultimate happiness, right? The ultimate happiness has to come from me. And bro, to find that, it takes people a lifetime. And I'm not gonna say I found it, but there's still people looking for it, right? There's still people looking for it, and some people say they found it, but they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff with their bodies, or and they haven't found it. They haven't found it. It's a really difficult thing to find in life, and I had found that peace for a while, and this pandemic, bro, just kind of made me go backwards. And I'm talking like this last week was barely the first week that I started to find myself again. But dang, this pandemic did it, bro. Because I can't do what I do. I don't have the teatro medicine. I love public speaking. I love presenting. I love doing that. That's what gives me medicine, right? And even our own ceremonies, I can't even do that. So we lost ourselves, dude. Those are all the things that kept me
Yes.
balanced. And now the opposite happened, where it's like I'm just trauma response, trauma responding to everybody's trauma at my school site, coworkers, adults. Um, and again, that's the unhealthy part, right? And this pandemic has put us in that position. And but those were the things that were working for me. I'm not as bad as I was 15 years ago, obviously, but I still, like, right now I hike a lot. I hike every day. I hike this morning. I do 100 push-ups a day. This is like the 19th day I do 100 push-ups a day. I'm doing a 30-day 100 push-up challenge. Um, the one thing that has really helped me during this pandemic is my beadwork, my artwork. My artwork has really saved me this pandemic. If it wasn't for that, bro, I'm not gonna lie, I would have probably gone really, really crazy, like really crazy.
Yeah, this pandemic's been everybody I know that's even in this space, we're having a hard time because we don't have the outward ceremonial things and other things that just make us happy. And it's but in some ways it's challenging our coping mechanisms. What can we do? And so tell me about what you're doing now. I mean, work wise, all that, besides the pandemic, like what are you doing now with yourself to build on those life lessons? You talked about kind of taking time for yourself, but what are you building on? What are you trying to project not only for yourself but those around you?
I think it's still really, really hard to even answer that because of this pandemic, right? It's hard to even build with those around you. But I think right now my biggest thing is helping others conquer fear, right? Because fear is just everywhere, everywhere. It's in my house, it's outside of my house, it's on TV, it's in your meal, it's in the air, it's in, everywhere. And unfortunately, because I'm the one working with people, I take a lot of that fear in, right? So I have to make sure I release that fear and I don't take it in. But I think it's just like, so fear is an energy, right? It's an entity. Let me say it's an entity. It's a real thing. In my head, this is just my own little belief. It's an entity. It's like, if you look right here, fear is right here. It's right next to me, right? And if you give it power, it grows, right? It grows. And not now it's not only next to you, now it's like weighing down on you, and it's on your back, right? And I think right now the only thing that I could do is help people with their fear and their anxiety, and just help them, walk them through it through Zoom. We have a group where we meet every Monday. We've been meeting since the pandemic first hit. We have a Monday group, And we've been meeting for a year and a half or 2 years, whatever it is. And we just work, we just talk, we work on our fears, our anxiety, what's going on in our lives. And, I mean, I think just medicine that the ancestors are giving me is to make people laugh. Laughter, dude. I mean, you know me, everybody that's on this podcast that knows me is, I always tell people, if you've been with me for 5 minutes and you haven't laughed, there's something wrong with me, right? There's not something wrong with you. There's something wrong with me. And humor is it, dude. You're gonna get that from me. You're not gonna not get that from me. And that's the little medicine I can offer the world is my humor.
So, with that in mind, like, what counsel or advice would you give others, especially elders? Those are not quite elders yet, or even young elders. You know what I mean? Like, as we're doing the work, like, in terms of their own health and healing, what advice could you give them as they're on their road? I mean, there's a lot of people our age who haven't even begun that journey, and they always ask, what can I do? Where can I start? And I think someone like you who's kind of been through it in many ways, the way you project it and kind of deal with it in your own way. Um, what do you think? What kind of advice would you give them?
Bro, I'm gonna tell you something that just came to me. The other day I was talking with a friend and I was telling them, there's these Jesse and these other brothers are here and they're helping me, rebuild my deck and they're not charging me a penny, you know what I mean? And it's a lot of money. I'm probably saving easily over $2,000. I mean, I'm buying all the materials and I said, I have to give them something. I don't feel right. And this individual stopped me and she said, allow yourself to be loved, right? And I was like, what the fuck? She says, allow yourself to be loved. But you know what, bro? It sounds cheesy, right? But you know what? When we become activists and we're out there, we're doing this, we don't allow ourselves to be loved, Cisco. We don't do it. We don't do it. And what happens when we don't do that? We lose ourselves, you
Well,
know?
it's important.
And it sounded so like cliche-ish, cheesy. But then again, it was so profound because every now and then you're in the right place at the right time
Hmm.
and you hear the right thing and your heart just like explodes, right? Your heart's like, dude, did you hear that? Take it in. Don't just take it in here because this little brain up here will trick you. Take it right here with your heart. So you young people that are, oh, I'm going to be an activist, I'm going to help the community. First, start by allowing yourself to be loved.
Hmm.
Allow yourself to be loved, man. And you know what? This is going to be the most difficult thing in the world is to really, truly love yourself and self-reflect. Do I really love myself? Right? Loving yourself means doing the work, right? Loving yourself means you're going to do the work where you could maybe start getting some of those addictions in your life out of your life, right? Um, just really reflecting on, wait, if I'm out here in the community, what am I doing for myself first, right? It's easy to always make excuses for your behavior. It's really easy to make excuses for your dysfunctional behavior. It's really easy. Oh, I'm just doing it because of this. Oh, I'm not really an alcoholic. I just drink a 6-pack every other day, but it doesn't make me an alcoholic. Right. I've heard so many people say that. Oh, I'm not really doing it for that. I just do it for fun. I just have sex for fun, but I'm not really. That's that has nothing to do with anything. That's just what I'm doing, right? And not reflecting on your wounds, not reflecting on your behavior. You're out in the community, dude. You got to reflect on yourself and why you're really doing what you're doing. That's the hard work. But if you're going to be in the community, and you're not reflecting on on yourself, those wounds are going to get deeper. The wounds are going to get deeper. They're going to explode. They're going to explode sooner or later. And I know that, dude. I've mastered that. It's already happened to me. So I think I answered your question that time. You know.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. I think that's beautiful advice, and I think it's one of the reasons why we do this podcast, because there's a lot of times people, especially that are into this work, both movement builders, healers, parents, all the different roles we play in people's lives. Sometimes they don't reflect. And I learned that lesson, and I'm still learning it, making sure I'm reflecting. Like, am I okay? What do I need to do to get better? Am I treating people right? All those questions you have to ask yourself at times, taking the time not to just live life, but to reflect on life so you could always improve it, whenever you get a chance. You know what I mean? So I want to thank you again, Macedonio, for your thoughts, your wisdom, all the things that you bring to the table. If you want to share with the listeners, where could they find everything Macedonio? Where should they go on the web, on the internets, wherever they could do to find and support your work?
Well, we have our website. Yeah, we have our own website, the www.iscali.org. That's some of it. And then you could just find me on Instagram and hologram and jamongram, y todogram. You know what I mean? 1 gram, 2 grams. Just by my name, I guess, Macedonio Arteaga, in my Facebook. And, that's really the easiest thing. Damn, you made me think a lot today. I really needed to reflect and have this conversation. Thank you.
Well, thank you again. I want to give a shout out to our listeners, those that follow us. If you haven't, this is your first time listening to the podcast, please follow, subscribe, like, wherever you find it. We're on all the major platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio. If you have people behind the walls, let them know we're on iHeartRadio. They can listen to it, and get some healing wherever they are. We're on Apple Music. Give us a rating, a review. It helps people find the podcast and spread the message of health and healing in that way. So with that, thank you again, Macedonio. Peace.
Thank you all. Take care, buddy. Thank you so much.
For more information about Healing Generations and the Healing Generations Institute, visit nationalcompadresnetwork.org and be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with our new releases.